people haven't got jobs, they can't buy things.
There will be no recovery without jobs.
There will be no.
I don't care what they do.
Right now, there are some corporations that their profits are up 80% or something. But this is not sustainable for most companies because even though we've got a global economy, that is also in decline. And unless we have jobs in this country, you cannot have a healthy economy. You simply can't. The crisis that we have is jobs. It's a jobs crisis.
And how did FDR settle it? By using the power of the federal government to create jobs. Yes, and public...
Stimulus, baby.
Yeah.
Stimulus. Infrastructure.
How does Representative Hultgren justify the position that government doesn't create jobs? We have some police officers here this morning. Who do you think pays their salaries? Good. Who do you think pays?
You and me.
I wonder who.
Right, the government. The government. And why do we pay them? Because before we had public financing of the police, the only people who could afford security were people who could afford private police forces. And that's what happens in third world countries. The only people that get protected are people who can afford to employ vigilantes. We have public education in this country so that we can educate all our people, because if we don't, we can't compete. Sorry. How can we compete globally if we don't have a strong education system?
But did you read in today's paper that kids whose parents don't pay whatever fees won't even get their diploma? They're not allowed to go to the dances. They're not allowed to participate in any of the other activities.
And that's the beginning of the end of public education.
Public education.
Yeah, right.
I would have that.
Well, we can't eliminate the middle class.
Yeah,
no,
we've got to.
And we are being squeezed
I'm just curious who the congressman is for. You know, I understand that 2% of the population, they're getting all the tax breaks, they're getting all the money, and I don't think 2% of the rich people live in Illinois. So I'm just curious, you know, what...
Did you put that on your card?
No, I didn't.
You want to?
I sure will.
Only 17% of the charter schools are better.
Yeah, you take the cards. You also got copies.
The rest
Town hall meetings too.
Not as good.
Town hall meetings come like next week.
Well,
Joe Washington.
I think we all agree that consumers are the real job creators.
Yes. I like to hear it's called citizens. We're citizens.
Because when we have money in our pockets, what do we do, ladies and gentlemen?
We spend it.
When you go into a store, you go buy something, okay? If everybody goes to the Walgreens and buy some candy and empty out the shelf, Walgreens gonna call the manufacturer and order some more, right? That means people are making those candies, those pieces of candies.
And delivery guys.
And delivery guys, okay? And those people who are working at Walgreens goes to restaurant to eat. That's more jobs. It's a chain reaction. When citizens have jobs, they spend money, which creates more jobs. The so-called job creators are the wealthy people. What do the wealthy do with their money?
Invest it.
They invest it. They
Put it
create
over
jobs overseas, not for the American public. Between 2001 and 2008, 41,000 factories were sent overseas. That's millions of jobs for the American people lost. So we need to stand together and make our representatives in Washington know that we know what's going on and we're not gonna back off.
That's right. And stop the fighting.
We also need a tax on investments.
Yes, we do.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Securities, investments, close the loopholes, no more subsidies for big corporations.
The top 1% need to be taxed appropriately.
Particularly for polluting
That's tariffs on incoming goods too, because other countries put tariffs on our goods.
I'm willing to share this bullhorn with whoever wants to speak. I'm Mary Shuskgreen. I'm with Northern Illinois Jobs with Justice. I'm also with Fox Valley Citizens for Peace and Justice. And I agree very much with Nadia that consumers create demand and that boosts the economy. Austerity programs are very bad for the economy. Austerity programs are being imposed all over Western Europe, and it's not working. They please the creditors, but they don't boost the economy. What we really need to boost the economy is what Jenny and others here were talking about. We need federal job creation programs, like was done in the Depression under FDR. The Work Progress Administration, CCC, we need programs like that again. There is a bill in Congress, H.R. 870, sponsored by Congressman John Conyers. It would create a financial transaction tax, a tiny little financial transaction tax, 0.25% on every trade of stocks, bonds, derivatives, etc. It would generate billions of dollars, which would then be funneled.
I wonder if that was prearranged.
Let's wait until he's gone.
No, it's Wednesday morning.
Have a sign on the side of his truck. Yes, at least he's working. Yeah.
Get a picture of that.
Yeah. A working person.
But
you can be sure those guys aren't going to pick up their own garbage.
This is privatized garbage collection.
It is.
Remember when it used to be a public thing?
Yeah, I remember when they always had 2 men on the truck.
They're still paying for it.
Yes, yes. Anyway, this John Conyers bill, 870, create a fund which would then go directly into employing the unemployed to rebuild our infrastructure, roads and bridges, to weatherize homes and public buildings, to conserve energy. And if it kept going and we got enough in that fund, it could be used to create a smart grid and some high-speed rail. Now, we've been in this office speaking with Congressman Hultgren, asking him to support this very bill a couple months back, and he said he would read the bill and he would think about it. We haven't heard back from him.
No. Don't hold your breath.
Another topic that we should bring out is Social Security and Medicare.
Yes.
We contribute to Social Security and Medicare. It is not a government entitlement, unlike what the Republicans would like you to think. It is an insurance policy. So people who are 55 and under, what is the congressman going to do with the money that we've already contributed? They said they're going to give on our behalf close to $18,000 to the insurance companies for our health care. Who knows how much cancer costs? Hundreds and thousands of dollars, right? What's $18,000 going to do for a cancer patient?
Nothing.
It won't get you through the door.
Wait, what insurance company
And the
is gonna-
insurance company is not going to cover it. They will say, we don't want you, we can't afford you.
Right. And then we'll be back to square one and they'll drop us.
We're back to 1929, when there was no Social Security, no Medicare.
Talk about death penalty.
Exactly. So the Ryan budget, which calls for privatizing Social Security and cutting Medicare, is the worst budget ever for people 55 and under.
It's not a budget, it's a death.
And that's one of the insulting things about it, that anyone that's over 55 doesn't care about the people under 55.
We do.
I do.
I want to ask Congressman Hultgren, what
Yes, it is.
do you think that we don't, those who are 65 and over, Do you think we don't care about the people who are 55 and under?
Our kids and grandkids.
Which is our kids, our grandkids?
I've got a daughter that's 40. She is going to be needing, of course, to have proper Medicare when she gets to be my age, etc. Now, when I told my children, my grandchildren, they asked, where was I going today? And I said, I'm going to go to Hultgren's office and protest the way he is voting to take things away from your mother and you. And you know what all three of them said? They all hugged me. They came right up to me and they hugged me and they said, thank you, Grandma. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah. My son is married to a gal that's got rheumatoid arthritis, and she said an ankle replaced, a hip replaced, and so she has a pre-existing condition. So, so I told him that I was going to protest against this Medicare because we need Medicare for all people, for our grandkids, our kids, and I don't need her to be worrying about how she's going to be paying the bills and not worrying about going into foreclosure or bankruptcy because she can't pay her medical bills because she's already got a problem in the future. So I'm going to work
Medicare
for
Part E.
Medicare.
That's right. Medicare for all. That's what we want. Now let's talk about our good veterans, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yes.
I have a friend who just came back from Afghanistan who has PTSD, can't find a job, and they're refusing him services.
That's shameful.
That is totally shameful.
Immoral.
After they went to sacrifice their life, and this is the thanks that they get when they come back. That's not right.
It's disgraceful.
We would not be in a war for 10 years if all of us had participated. If our kids had participated, we would have lost it.
That's for sure.
And if there was a draft, you wouldn't see these wars.
That's right. Amen.
Right. Stand up against
Well, the politicians' children have to go.
Yes, if you had
That's right. Politicians' children do not go to war.
Instead of borrowing,
Right.
tax cuts for the rich
Right.
under the Bush administration for 2 wars.
Right.
Very fiscally unresponsible.
Borrowed all that money.
All that money.
War, and
Now
then now
they talk about deficits.
Now they're asking for our children and our grandchildren to pay for it. No, no.
Not to mention the billions that we give to Pakistan and some other countries.
And the billions we give away for Medicare. Pharmaceutical companies.
Yes.
Yes.
Negotiate.
And I'd like to say one thing also, that, you know, I am not surprised about there being a Tea Party movement, because I think people are so disillusioned with our representatives because they're not representing people.
No.
They're representing Wall Street and corporate interests.
Yes.
Thank you, Supreme Court. But that's why people have joined the Tea Party, because they don't understand the real underlying problems, and that the Republicans, for the most part, are simply not representing the interests of ordinary people.
No, they're not.
They're funded by large corporations such as the Koch brothers, that have been spending huge amounts of money to fund foundations and people to put out messages that will mislead working people into supporting policies that don't help them.
Actually, that hurt them.
That hurt them. So I think we have common cause with many people who are in the many ordinary working people who have joined the Tea Party simply because they have been misinformed and misled.
Started by Fifth Army, funded by the healthcare industry.
Right. Yes.
Insurance.
I called Senator Kirk's office last week and I talked to the 22-year-old intern that works there. He just graduated from college. He's paying back his loans that he got. I asked him, I said, your mother and father aren't going to be on Social Security or Medicare. He says, I realize that. I said, so you better make a lot of money because you're going to be supporting them. And he agreed with me. So that's. And I think he's going to turn Democratic.
All right!
Another sensible person.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, what I see is going on is that they're starting, the Republican Party is trying to crush the middle class. They're starting with the working folks, and it's gonna creep up. If you're comfortable and you have a job, sometimes you don't care or you're too busy. eventually it will catch up to you. So we got to stop it in its track. We got to work hard and keep protesting, letting our representatives know that we are listening, we are watching them, and we will speak loud and clear in November.
And
yes, we will.
Write your letter to the editor, too, to get people informed on what's going on.
Yeah, write a letter to the Tea Party editor.
We need to get out the truth instead of
them. I think our representative should be visible, which he is not.
Where is he?
Not only that, but I had called the county clerk's office before when I was looking for this building, or where his office was, because I went to his 2 old offices. They didn't know, and they had to call me back because they make the directory of public officials, which has all the addresses and all the phone numbers. And I was out for a walk in Elburn. I talked to my Republican precinct committeeman. He did not know where Representative Hultgren's office was. So I think
that's not representing us.
No, it isn't. And you can go to all town meetings and everything, but your office should be visible to the public, which this is not.
And I'd like to add to that. I'd like to add to what you said. We are paying for this building, ladies and gentlemen. It's our tax dollars. We are paying for the gentleman in the red shirt. We're paying your salary
to keep him working.
It's our tax dollars. We have a right to be here, and we have a right to meet with the congressman to let him know that we're not happy with his decisions, especially on the Ryan budget. So what does democracy look like? This is what democracy looks like. What does democracy look like?
This is what democracy looks like.
All right.
Jobs not cuts. Jobs not cuts.
Is there anybody else here that's a teacher, former teacher?
Yes.
Okay. Then you know, oh good, Mr. Steinman. Then you know what I'm talking about. This past spring, Republican Tom Cross and Republican Chris Lawson went to the Civic Committee in Chicago, and they, between the two state senators and the Civic Committee, which is made up of 36 big businesses in the state of Illinois, they drafted this draconian bill that forced the teachers into instead of TRS, the teacher retirement system, they wanted to force them into a 401k. Well, you know what 401ks did this past week. And so the teachers mobilized for 2 months, and they wrote letters, they visited their representatives, they put pressure on them, and they could not come up with a vote. But it's coming back this fall. I can hardly wait to see what that one is. But just as proof positive that the government, that these Republicans are getting the Wall Street and the big businesses involved in it, there's proof positive.
Yes. I'm not sure it's only Republicans, though.
Yeah, there are a few Democrats. You're absolutely right. There are a few Democrats we'll throw in.
Well, we need to put more progressives in Congress so we have a bigger voice. Because we don't want the blue dogs.
Need to do is get money out of elections, because that is the underlying issue. Is that
Clarence Thomas needs to be investigated.
And Clarence Thomas needs to be off the Supreme Court.
He needed never to be on.
Clarence Thomas needs to go.
Yeah, he does.
We need campaign finance before.
We also need protection for people that serve our country. Service people, policemen, firemen, and they shouldn't have to worry about their pensions and their insurance. They serve us, we should be serving them.
Let's remember, people who choose the public service take a lower pay than they would have gotten in the business, even though they're required to keep up their education, they're required to keep improving themselves, whether they're a fireman, policeman, they have to keep their health up, etc. And they're doing that because they think there's some security at the end, and you rip off the security, you're going to rip off your best teachers.
And you're going to have a hard time getting good teachers.
Not only that, the negotiation process, when you are a teacher, the negotiation process does involve that the pension, that is considered part of their pay. They pay into the pension, and part of what they consider when they decide to take their job and negotiate is their pension.
And they do not get Social Security.
They do not get Social Security.
Yes, and they pay in 9.4%.
Well, the politicians take money, borrow money from the pension fund, they don't pay the money back.
That's right.
The same thing they're doing with Social Security. They take money from the Social Security fund, they don't want to pay it back. So more or less, they give tax cuts to the wealthy. They don't want to pay their due after they. So they're stealing.
I have heard over and
over
they're
again.
telling people they're stealing. And the Republican spin on this is that the people that have put into the pension plan are lazy whiners, when in fact, what they have done is they have put in their time every single day. My husband was a teacher for 37 years. Every single day, going to work, and taking care of those kids and doing the best he could.
And spending hours out of the classroom.
Many hours out of the classroom. And spending his own money on supplies because guess what? The school district doesn't cover a lot of supplies. Teachers have to pay for them themselves. And then the Republican spin is that the teachers and the people that want a collective bargain are whining and they're trying to get something out of the government when in fact they put into it and have done their job every single day. They don't do what Hultgren did, which is hold up the whole government, cost, I think it was it $14 million? Yeah. And that, for this debt deal, ceiling, cost all that money and then come home and not meet with his constituents.
Yes.
My husband did his job, doggone it. He met with his students and he met with his parents. Hultgren should meet with us.
Yes.
Oh, no.
You don't want to hear what we have to say, sir? I mean, we are your constituents.
We pay you.
We're also paying him.
That was a long question. Holy smokes.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I was asked to get your comments and pass them on to the congressman.
Did you take notes? Did you take notes about what I just said? Are you taking notes at all?
I am not. No, I've got your comment cards. Would you like a? Did you already fill one? Oh, okay. Huh?
Show us how much they care.
I'm going to hold my sign because this is a big note that he's not seeing.
Okay.
Can you tell us where he is right now? Can you tell us where he is right now?
He's visiting some businesses and chambers of commerce.
Get more money in his pocket.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a question. Comments about that. He is visiting the Chamber of Commerce, the businesses. He is responding to his corporate masters.
Yes.
They say jump. He asks, how high do I go?
Exactly. Representative Hultgren signed the pledge to not raise taxes.
Yes, he did.
He did.
The Norquist.
And why? Yeah, why? I mean, he's supposed to represent the people, not Norquist.
I will let him know.
I think he should know. I think it's disgusting.
I did not vote.
Why do the Republicans think they have to make a pledge to the rich guys that they're not going to raise taxes, but they're going to cut entitlements for seniors or middle class people?
I'll pass the message
I
along.
did not vote for Grover Norquist. Grover Norquist is not under the public pay.
No, he's a lobbyist. He's
and Mr. Hultgren should owe no allegiance as a public official to someone that is not a public official. He owes allegiance to these people right here, not corporate interests.
Yes, ma'am.
Not the Chamber of Commerce.
They better start listening
and
to the
not Grover Norquist. Grover Norquist is not an elected official.
I have a question.
We are the ones that elect them.
Can I ask a question?
Ma'am, she's still talking.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you still talking?
Please, I yield the floor to her.
Okay, my question is this. When I attended a public meeting, a town hall meeting that Representative Hultgren was at, somebody there asked him what caused the deficit. And his response was, I don't know. Has he found out yet what caused the deficit? I'd like to know what his answer is. You mean you don't know either? I mean, do you know what his response is?
I was not at that town hall, so I did not.
No, but does that mean that you don't know the answer then? What caused the deficit? It's fairly fundamental. I bet anybody here could tell you. Does he not know what caused the deficit?
I will not speak for him. I do not know the answer to that.
But aren't you supposed to speak for him right here? You were told, apparently by him, I would assume, to be here and address our concerns.
I'm here to collect your comments and allow you
Okay,
to
then we're
peacefully
asking
assemble.
a question. Ask him again, and
Okay.
we need a public response. We need a public response.
Here you go.
I will sign that later.
Okay.
I will. What, in his opinion, created this deficit? I don't want him to listen to Grover Norquist tell him. I want to know what he thinks created the deficit.
Okay. I'll make sure he gets your comments.
Bush tax cuts, bro.
I would also like to know how many jobs Grover Norquist has made with all the money that he's making.
Okay. Did you put that on your
No, I
comment
didn't.
card?
Can you remember that?
I can.
Thank you.
Okay.
Tell him to roll back the Bush tax cuts.
Sir.
Decline in the United States. Doesn't that
Thank you,
coincide
sir.
with the Bush tax cuts
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
well?
Is this your comments to add to the debate?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
thanks.
he doesn't know.
also reply with a letter.
What is your position,
Yeah.
this officer?
He doesn't know anything.
Sir, what is your position? What do you do?
I'm a caseworker for the congressman. I work on agency concerns. If you have a problem with an agency of the government, I try and help resolve that.
Is this considered
Why
an
doesn't he
agency
have
of the
somebody to
government?
work with the
His
people?
office?
So these agents.
Okay, thank you.
You should have somebody, 3 or 4 people here with money he's making, and sit down with small groups of people that have concerns. He's off collecting money from big business.
What are the biggest concerns?
His only concern is where the next buck is coming from.
That's certainly what it appears, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
His re-election.
Yes.
Well,
Can you tell
we're
us
the
what are the
electors.
main concerns that you deal with then? What are the problems that your constituents have with government agencies? What are the biggest problems?
IRS issues. I deal with military issues, trying to help soldiers. Veterans
Like
issues,
when they don't
benefits.
get paid? Like when Hultgren was willing to, for the soldiers
There's a
not
veteran
to get
right over
paid?
there. There's a veteran
Yeah.
right over
There's a
there.
veteran right
Yeah.
over there.
And we want to thank you for your service, sir. We want to make sure that you get what you deserve when you came back. That's why we're here.
Okay, well, thank you for being here.
Okay.
You're allowed. That's our role, is to allow you to assemble and voice your concerns.
And ignore it?
But the next step is do something.
I think that was a faux pas.
You're welcome. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
I listened, I watched Hultgren and Quigley on PBS a week or so ago.
Thank you.
And he stated that he voted against the debacle of the limit. And the reason he voted against it was he wanted a constitutional amendment. And I want to ask why. Because his answer was really nonplus. It didn't give any directives of why he wanted a constitutional amendment for a balanced budget. Secondly, Quigley pointed out that you get taxed if you buy a car, but you don't get taxed, you get a tax credit if you buy a yacht. I don't understand it. And he did not respond to that either. So I would like some more specific responses that tell us where the majority of Americans are, not just where the
So I
few.
can use my yacht.
Would you put that on
I
your-
would be glad to.
Well, how is he going to respond? Make a public response to our questions.
Yeah.
Can he contact Nadia? Can Nadia be our contact? She could send it out to people.
Oh, I already gave my name.
Okay. Did you give me your email address?
You had a problem with benefits or something? Well, I mean, we can talk later about it.
I had it pretty well.
Okay.
This gentleman wanted to go last one.
Oh, sorry. I'll give you the
Any other concerns? Now's the time. I know he's not here, but his representative is here.
Well, I did ask him about 6 months ago on one of those conference calls, why didn't Bank of America pay any taxes last year? That was my question, and he said he'd get back to me. He never did.
Yeah.
Exxon paid a tax credit, or no, they got
Apple Corporation.
BP got a tax break because they polluted the Gulf.
Yes.
Why am I paying for them to clean that up? Because that's their mistake. Maybe if it was a tornado, that would be covered, but I don't see that as being something that I should be paying for.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Bank of America made some mistakes. Their shareholders should be the ones who charge for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, do you know if Congressman Hultgren has any job plans?
Aside from being reelected. Because that ain't happening.
Creating jobs in America?
I do not know.
Yeah, first constituent.
We can address those and have them.
Why does that be a priority?
Yes.
It should be one of his quick priorities. That's what they ran on.
Job creators. One job.
Ladies and gentlemen, with all due respect, I cannot debate you because I am just here to take your comments and be here if anyone's got any issues.
Is there a website?
I've got a comment card I can pass out to you.
Is there a website that talks about what his what his stand is and answering these questions that we all have?
Yeah, it's on his website. House.gov/Hultgren.
And he answers all these questions that we're asking today? He has a form letter,
it's a form
that he's
letter.
working for us, poor people, and that's well, that's it.
You get a form letter back.
He has got a Facebook page. You can go to his Facebook page and
terrible idea.
No, you appreciate it.
A balanced budget amendment. A balanced budget amendment would cripple the government. It would harness it so that it could not act in response to an emergency.
We see how well it works in Illinois.
That's precisely, yes.
Never works
They
here.
are so intent on bringing Obama down, they're willing to sacrifice the country on the way to doing that.
It is their main goal for one term.
Oh, I know, they're going to let the country go down the tube just so Obama doesn't get reelected.
They've done a good job so far.
When I talked to the office last week, they were in the process of setting up town hall meetings. Has that been finalized? Oh, okay, great. Great, thank you.
Next Thursday, the 18th in Geneva.
Oh, okay.
Do you have another one?
Sure, I'll just get one.
Yeah, at the Public Works Facility on South Street.
Thank you.
Do you have an extra one?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Thank you, sir.
So one last comment I want to make about what we just experienced with the debt ceiling.
He's listening. He's not receiving.
Yes, I'm sorry, Nadia.
The Tea Party and the Republicans wanted to default, wanted America to default. I do not call that patriotism.
No, certainly.
That's against Americans' interests.
Yes, it is.
So please let Congressman Hultgren know that we are not happy with those decisions.
With S&P downgrade because of it.
That's right. That was completely created.
Yeah.
By
Manufactured crisis.
100 times they created to replace that ceiling, but not this time.
And there's never been anything tied to the raise of a debt ceiling before. Never.
Never.
7 times under George Bush, it was just passed by these same people.
Remember Dick Cheney saying deficits don't count?
Right.
Yes, that's true.
That was the end of the conversation.
Well, they don't when they're in power.
Right.
He also says that when they're fracking, it's okay to put chemicals in the ground and pollute the water, and it's not under the Clean Water Act.
Right, because
Cheney said that.
That was his addition.
Yeah.
Energy bill.
That's his loophole.
Right?
The Halliburton loophole.
Right.
These people were fine with the children of soldiers fighting in Afghanistan going without diapers and food this month. That was okay as long as they got their political way.
Right. And that is so shameful.
They were upset about the death panels that they made up. Okay, let's starve grandma and grandpa. Let's give them nothing to eat next month. That's okay as long as they can get their political way.
Sure. And throw them out of nursing homes.
Absolutely inexcusable. College students, were they going to get to go to school next semester? The Department of Education was one on the list that wasn't going to get paid this month. Student loans weren't going to go out, Pell Grants weren't going to go out. We were less than a month away from school starting. Well, to hell with it as long as they get their way.
The 74,000 that were furloughed with no pay for 2 weeks. And what were they trying to do? They were trying to destroy unions.
Yes. Job killing.
That's job killing.
Exactly.
If we said that if you didn't vote, then it meant no, Hultgren would not be in, because so many Democrats did not vote this last time. We would have kept Foster. But no, that's what they want to do as far as unions are concerned. And so
They want to get rid
that's
of
a
them.
real concern.
Yeah, they want to get rid of them all.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, I'm really puzzled about this whole concept that we don't need government, because I really would like to know who would have responded to disasters in this country. I'd like to know, you know, who would have built our roads, who would have built our dams, who would have built our bridges, who would have trained our MBAs if it wasn't for public universities. I don't understand what the difference will be between this country and, you know, the poorest country in Africa that has a dysfunctional government if we don't have a government. I mean, admittedly right now it's only responsive to money because it costs so much to get elected. But we don't need no government, we need a better government. Right. Yes. Do you really think that corporations can run the country out of public interest? It's not their job. Their job is to make goods and services for money, but not to run the country. It's not their job. They should be doing these things. I approve of corporations, but do you really want them to run the country? No. That's the problem. Will they really build us all roads? Will they really provide us all with education?
If we pay them enough.
Do you think, sir, do you personally think they will do these things?
No.
Do you? I mean, do you think if we have no government we'd be better off?
Personally.
Personally? You personally?
No, we need government.
Okay, yes, quite. And you probably think that government's not working too well right now, yeah? Yeah. So I'm glad that you understand that we do need government. Yeah.
Well, the problem is they want to privatize all these jobs. Right. The prisons are privatized now, a lot of them. And NPR had a thing last week that was saying that they're now paying prisoners 20 cents an hour to work in meat packing companies, and they didn't even recall the meat when they found rat feces in there, because then people would realize what's happening in this country. They're taking away union jobs and they're giving it 20 cents an hour to prisoners. That's crazy. This has to stop.
That's why Bachmann wants to lock up the FDA. She wants to bar the doors and windows and shut the whole thing down. Yeah. That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
No, it's a frightening situation what's happening in this country. It is. I'm old and I've never seen anything like this ever.
Thanks for coming. I'll see you Thursday night. Okay.
So are there any more comments, questions for the gentleman?
Yes, I just have one comment. I work at Fermilab. I've never been employed there. I've been a scientist working at various universities, and now a private research company. Fermilab is unique. It's still the premier science institution in this country, and it's in this district, and it's on the chopping block too. And the problem with that, it's such a unique gathering of people, of scientists from all over the world, that if it disappears, there is no amount of money that brings Fermilab back. Yeah. It goes off to Geneva. It goes off to Japan. It goes off someplace else. And I'm astounded that here in this district, I don't know if Mr. Hultgren has ever been to Fermilab. And I'm not talking about Fermilab in particular, but all of our research institutions, our medical research institutions, science, technology. I mean, this doesn't come out of corporations. Corporations skim the top of the engineers and scientists trained by universities and national laboratories. There is no corporation in this world that's going to take a high school student, no matter how bright, and turn them into a PhD scientist or a senior engineer.
Exactly.
You know?
So does Mr. Hultgren, instead of reading that, does Mr. Hultgren, has he ever been to Fermi?
At least 3 times, to my knowledge. You were with him once.
I've been with him.
He's been at least 3 times, and we spoke to a lot of employees.
Where does he stand with regard to keeping Fermi in the district?
100% in support of
So what is he doing for it? Do you know?
But this hurts it. It's a cut. The budget cuts hurt science as much as education.
So is he supporting science by providing money for it? What did he last do? What did he last vote for?
On votes in support.
In support
We'll
of
have to find out, and I'll have to get back to you.
Okay, ma'am, the scientist over there. I'm just wondering.
She has to fill out one of those.
So government funding source, but science is the NSF.
Ma'am, do you know how he has voted for science for Fermilab?
I don't know how he's voted for science, but the thing is that this budget, if he supports the Ryan Plan, the Ryan Plan makes broad cuts, particularly on our seed corn, which is science. I don't want to say Fermilab in particular, all science, all of education, and it's all of a piece. I mean, the sciences support each other. You're not going to have the medical instruments of the 23rd Star Trek century without science, without physics, engineering, nuclear physics, etc. And of course, you're not going to have the medicines if you don't have people in the forest regions of biology looking at strange exotic bugs in distant places to understand our universe. You won't have the miracle cures of tomorrow if you don't have those people. And it's so easy to cut because no one in basic science can tell you what the end product is if you go with the business model. You know, no one could have predicted the transistor in 1928, okay? All we know is that the things that will help us environmentally, technology, with our economy, the green economy, is all going to be coming out of basic research, material science, physics, energy, research into basic energy science, all of them as a piece. And it's such a tiny sliver of our GDP now, what we invest in it. And that's our seed corn.
Yes, here.
What is China doing?
Investing heavily.
Investing in this.
Training people here and taking them back to China.
Or we send them back. If we don't tax the wealthy appropriately, then we are going to lose in science. We need to have support for the proper academics for this country. And Hultgren needs to support it. Going to Fermilab and paying a visit to scientists is not enough. He needs to actually vote. And he needs not to support the Rand Act. And he needs to get his name off of Grover Norquist's stake, because you cannot do that. Right.
They tried to get voluntary
pledge.
Needs to burn it.
Well, he can divorce them.
56 people from this premier laboratory are going to be fired. And we've already cut the fat long, as if there were any, at Fermilab. But it's been cut and cut. And now what's coming up is 56 more firings of critical people, people who have a wealth of knowledge and experience. As I said, when that disappears, no amount of money brings it back.
That's shameful on Wilson's part and on the Republican Party.
Absolutely.
I want to ask the Republican Party and the Tea Partiers, why don't you want to be #1 in the world?
Yes.
We used to be #1 in education, in science, in everything. Healthcare, you name it. We were the best in the world. Now we're not.
We're not.
We're paying for privatized prisons, and that's our corporation now.
Yeah.
I just don't understand that concept. You're an American, you want to be #1 in the world.
And we have more people in this country in our leadership. It's anachronistic. I mean, there are people, serious people in this leadership who don't believe that we face any kind of ecological crisis. The rest of the world believes that. China believes that. India believes that.
They don't want us to know.
Right. That's it.
But it won't be a long-term investment, because even those corporations, even Exxon, even all of the oil companies are investing in the next generation, but they haven't got the right incentives to do that because they have enough incentives to maintain the status quo. Their future and the future for their grandchildren, as well as ours, is going to be whether or not we can survive as a planet. And that means believing in the overwhelming evidence of science that we are facing a huge catastrophe right now.
They're running a campaign of misinformation like they did with tobacco.
Right. Yeah. Tobacco was a similar campaign.
Well, you're starting to see more and more reports of contamination in our water supply.
Right.
Heavy metals, lead. That's going to increase unless they turn this whole situation around and start regulating these things with a mind to reducing.
Well, the rich can afford to move someplace else, to move out of this country. They have the money for it. I want to understand, too, why the top 2% are not paying their taxes, so we have to borrow money from foreign countries.
Exactly.
You know, if we got the taxes, then we won't have to borrow as much.
Exactly.
I mean,
it's clearly a very critical issue for our security, for our national security, and for our science, for education, for our children.
To borrow money from China because we're not willing to tax the rich is actually shameful. It's obscene.
Do you know when our country was most prosperous was post-World War II, right? And the taxes on people who are earning the top incomes then were, I believe it was in the 70 percentile.
90.
Yeah, a marginal tax rate. And this did not harm the economy. It did not. My husband is actually a CEO, and he very much believes we should be paying more tax. And there are a lot of people out there like that who believe that we should pay our share. We want to pay our share. This is all one country. We have a vested interest, all of us, in this country.
And for my grandchildren. I'm worried about my grandchildren. I would like to, when I go to the great beyond, I want to know that their country is safe and secure and actually will provide an education and a job for them. They're very, very intelligent. They're going to probably want to go into science, and here there's not enough funding for education. This is ridiculous. Do I need to tell them that they need to go to China and take up residence in China? Seriously. So they can get a good education.
The people who should take residence in China are the top 2%.
Yes.
Okay? Yeah. Not the average.
Yeah, let them go.
Let them go. Yeah, we can do it. But there's some code words that a lot of people don't understand when the Republican and Tea Partiers are speaking. When they say the American people. All polls show that 80 up to now it's almost 80% of American people want these type of changes that we're speaking of. Only 20 or 30% supports the Republican Party. When everybody votes, the Republicans lose, always.
Well, unless they cheat.
Unless they cheat.
Well, that's true.
And that's why they can't win elections without cheating, without doing sneaky things, creating new rules for IDs, like in Wisconsin, making it difficult for people to vote. Voter suppression.
Closing down driver's license facilities.
Exactly. So you need to remember the code words when they say the American people. Another code word is job creators. Who are the job creators? The top 2%.
Who don't create jobs.
Who don't create jobs. They just take the money, pocket it, or spend it outside of the United States. So you guys have to pay attention when they're talking about job creators.
Right. They've had the tax breaks for 10 years and they haven't created jobs.
That has not created any jobs.
That's why I don't even think that should be called raising taxes, because it's not. It's not raising taxes. The Bush cuts are supposed to be 10 years, and you put them back then to what they were before that, which still was low.
It's a fair tax.
It's a fair tax.
It is a fair tax. It's not raising it though. It's just eliminating the cuts.
If we could, when we assemble as American people, remember that it isn't about parties, it's about the American people. And it's not just grandkids and old people and young people and retired people and teachers and firemen and policemen. It's all of us. This is our country, and this is a very scary time. I've lived long enough to see the changes, and it's scary. And I expect my representative to represent me also, not just the Koch brothers and their corporations and the elite. I know they have the power and the money, but there's more of us than there are of them. And we have to stick together and speak up and do this every day if we have to, and still hold our jobs and do our work. It is essential. You can't know everything about everything that goes on, but this man is my representative. He has to listen to me, whether he likes me or likes my ideas or not, and he's not doing it. That is the scariest thing as an American citizen in a country that I thought was a democracy. You listen to me. Not because I'm that important, you're just as important, and everybody you know is that important.
Yep.
Just to look at us like we're rabble-rousers or we're discontented people, we're afraid. We fear for this country, and we've got to act with courage, like our forefathers did before us.
Yeah.
It's something that we're not used to. We expect things just to happen. It's not going to happen until we keep bugging them and telling them. Maybe they're human beings like we are. They have families, they have old parents they're going to have to take care of. And if they can't send their kids to college either because they won't have the money. They have to be personally involved too. And I would like to see Mr. Hultgren be personally involved.
Well, I'd like to
can you tell? Prairie Landing right now.
Okay.
Getting money from another group. So.
Actually, there's a luncheon, isn't there, at 11:30 at Prairie Landing in West Chicago. If any of us have time, we could go to that. Not to the luncheon, but does anyone? Well,
you could crash the luncheon.
You could, but if you do you know the address of that?
It's right off of Couts Road and 38. You know where the railroad tracks cross 38? If you turn left there, and
I don't. But does anybody? I don't think I can go, but I don't know if anyone else is going to go to that.
I don't think they know.
I gotta go to work.
Okay,
Yeah.
Couts Road and 38.
I mean, take Couts, and it's the first entrance on the right-hand side of the
It's a golf course. It's a golf course entrance. You drive way back in there, and there's a big old house.
Oh, well, yeah.
Any last comments?
Yes, I have something. I'd just like to say I believe that they're kissing the corporations' asses because they know they can get lobbyist jobs. And
After they're out of there.
It's all about greed.
Oh, it is. It is about greed.
One more thing, there's a rally at 5 o'clock today, downtown DeKalb, corner of 4th Street and 38. If any of you are inclined to join us, we hope for a big turnout there. And we're collecting the stories of people who are out of work. And if you have a story you want to bring so we can present it to the representative so he can hear stories from his actual constituents. We're going to be doing that today, so please join us if you can.
And move on. Where is it for the rally?
4th Street and 38 in downtown DeKalb.
And Crystal Lake at noon, move on as well.
Okay, sorry, Crystal Lake at noon.
Today?
Yes.
One more comment.
One more comment.
Oh, he's going to talk.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Thanks, Nadia.
One more comment.
You have a comment?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Anybody who wants to, let's go out and stand on
General,
here and display our signs.
back in the early 1900s, Henry Ford knew he had to put money in the people that were building his cars. So by himself, he raised the daily wage to $5, which was unheard of at that time. All of his cohorts were madder than all get out at him and thought he was crazy. But he sold cars. At that point, that was his incentive. He had to put money in his employees' pockets so he could sell his Ford automobiles.
Well, he also said
That's
that he wanted the employees to be able to afford his cars.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I did it for.
Yeah. So.
Do you see any corporations today willing to do that? I don't think so.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and I'll be in touch. We have to stick together and keep this going until the next election.
Yep. Bring friends.
Nadia, thank you. I will have Andrew get in touch with you about a future meeting.
Wonderful.
Thank you
so
for
much.
coming. Have a good day. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Take care, officer.
Sorry, I don't have better answers.
Thank you, gentlemen, for being here.
Thank you.
We're fighting for your pension.
Okay. Thank you for coming. Did she enjoy? She may have done the right thing.
She doesn't know it yet.
She
needs a little extra.
So I just took a bunch of pictures. I don't know if I can get them.
Thank you, sir.
Whatever.